Lagos, a megacity, the commercial hub of Africa's largest economy. Locally, the city contributes about 15.3% to the GDP of the entire country as of 2021, according to state government data. The city of over 28 million residents is home to many global firms like Google, and it continues to attract many more. Lagos is also considered more attractive to the ever-growing tech startup industry over Nairobi and Johannesburg. The hustle and bustle of the city never stops. But underlying all of that is a sense of insecurity, one that has heightened in recent weeks due to activities of kidnappers and robbers on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has reassured residents the city remains safe, but critics also remain unsure. So let's have a conversation. Let's talk about our safety in Lagos as we approach the holidays and the elections thereafter. You're welcome to The Square. I'm Kemini Amano. We'll now meet our guest, and we have security analyst based in Abuja, Catch Ononuju. And then I also have Abdulrazak Balogun, who is Executive Secretary and CEO of the Lagos State Security Trust Fund. You're welcome to The Square, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Great. I'll start with you, Abdulrazak. When the governor says that Lagos remains safe, despite all that we have had, despite the underlying insecurity, what exactly does he mean as far as your office is concerned?
Thank you very much. I think first of all, security has to do with greatly with perception. And if you look at the size of Lagos, the land mass of Lagos, and the amount of the population we have in Lagos, and the level of people streaming into Lagos every day for prosperity and for businesses and all whatnot, it tells you that they won't be coming down here if they do not perceive that this city is safe. And for us in Lagos, it's not a question of perception alone. We're working around the clock tirelessly to ensure that the city continues to remain safe because of the correlation between a secure environment and prosperity. Without a secure environment, you cannot have investments, you cannot have businesses will not thrive, you won't be able to make the taxes needed enough for you to build infrastructures in the state. So in Lagos, it is not only a question of perception, it's a question of the fact that we have a very, very high level of support security agencies from the Lagos Trust Fund. We have a rapid response squad with over 250 to 300 vehicles for patrols and for immediate response, apart from all the 114 divisions we have in Lagos and 14 area commands. And all these, most of these divisions, particularly the RS, are well up to the task with all the needed wherewithal for them to combat crime in Lagos. We're also leveraging on technology to ensure that we are looking at the states round the clock. The state is on surveillance round the clock. And so there's a rapid response to any impending issue that may arise in Lagos. And there are options with troublemakers that can brew instability in the state. So it is a work in progress. It is something that we'll continue to work on and improve on. Understanding the fact that security agencies in Nigeria are under the federal purview, but in Lagos State, we understand the correlation between safety and prosperity. Hence, we have continued round the clock to ensure that this city remains safe, despite its population and despite all the attending problems associated with megacities.
Very well. Kach, I'll come to you now. When the governor reassures the city that things are, the city is safe and the things, as we have heard from Abdulrazak, are being done to ensure that citizens of the city are safe, or the states are safe. Are you convinced from your point of view?
I am not convinced. I will tell you these are rhetorics. We're having this conversation because of the policies of the APC federal government. Yes, Lagos State has seen the dangers that came from the Buhari administration, and I commend Lagos State for outlawing the bikes, since the bikes have been seen as the main logistics that the terrorists have been using to run riots. Federal Buhari refused to outlaw the bikes, and that was why when we got the issues, the international communities gave their laugh, because they saw, after Buhari had traveled abroad for a non-important conference, and they knew there was a strategy now to pounce upon Abuja, and that was why you saw the security alerts by the British government, by the US government, by the Canadian government, by the Australian government, by the Indian government, the Bulgarian and Canadian. This is as a consequence of the bad policies of the APC government. Now they are telling you that they have given instruction to the army to cut off terrorism. Do you want to believe this? No. I want to tell you these are rhetorics forced by the international demand for assurance from the Buhari administration.
Kutch, can you hear me? When you say, I'm sorry, Kutch, I'm sorry I'm cutting you, but when you say that they're asking on the military to deal with terrorism, are you referring to the federal government?
Yes.
Right. I just want us to clarify.
The federal government are the people who control the military, not the Lagos State government. It is the federal government that has gotten the army to stay hands, and that was why the Bororo militia men have overrun our bushes, overrun our country. In Abuja, you saw the crisis, it took the alert from the international community to forestall the attack on Abuja, which could have ended the democracy as we know it. Then you will ask yourself, why we are the federal government part and parcel of that attempt to overrun Abuja? Why did it take the international community to stop that attempt to overrun Abuja?
I'm going to come back to you, Kutch, in a bit.
You have to ask yourself.
I'm going to come back to you in a bit so that we discuss more about the call on the military. But let's stick with Lagos for a while. And Abdulrazak, let's talk about your work at the Trust Fund. The Trust Fund has pumped a lot of money into assisting our security operatives at the state level. Can you share any data with us regarding that?
Well, this is an organization that was created as a child of circumstance in 2007. And so in the last 15 years, our mandate has been to source for resources to support our operatives. And that we have been doing at the behest of our donors and well-meaning Nigerians. We are a fully donor-funded organization. We do not receive any money from Lagos State government, and we're, supported by a board of trustees that have people of reputable character on our board who directs the affairs of the Security Trust Fund. And so the reason why it was created was the fact that the under-resourcing and lack of equipment of our agents. It is still on, but in the last 15 years of the existence of this fund, we have been able to create and support our agencies with, I cannot count off my head now from inception to date, we'll have doled out nothing less than 2,000 vehicles to our agents in Lagos and the divisions, and also the military Operation Mesa that we run in Lagos, the Marine Police. Just name any security agency or any sister agency, this trust fund supports it, including Federal Road Safety Corps, including the Nigerian prisons. The whole idea is that it's just too numerous to start to enumerate in this short program. Even to the most mundane things that people may think about, the trainings and retrainings of these guys, we also embark on it. Also the uniforms and accoutrements that they need to be well kitted, from bulletproof vests to helmets, we do that. From radio, telecommunications, and all. There's a lot we have been doing in the last couple of years.
With all of these things that you are even unable to enumerate on the program that is happening, thanks to the donor funding you get at the trust fund, you are pumping all of that into security operatives at the Lagos State. What kind of results are you getting?
I mean, it's clear to us that we are getting a lot of results in Lagos State. Like I said, if you call an average Lagosian who is coming from other parts of the country, they will tell you the air of peace and the air of tranquility in Lagos State. It is because most of the things we do are things that, it's behind the scene. And so it gives that freedom of, people moving around thinking that, oh, this place may not be well covered. But I can tell you that crime has drastically reduced. Issues of cultism is almost non-existent anymore. Nightlife has returned to Lagos. You go around Lagos, leaving the island to the mainland at 12 midnight, 4 a.m. in the morning, without any issue. The Yuletide is coming now. You're going to see a lot of activities happening in Lagos. These are testimonies to the fact that the city is safe. International communities and hotels will not come and site in a place where they won't get customers or where it's unsafe. So I can tell you that looking at all these factors around us in the town, it tells you that there is that general belief that, and also not even belief, it is there.
Okay.
I mean, you can say that.
I don't know how many people would agree with you, but how then do we explain the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway kidnappings and attacks on commuters on that stretch?
I must let you understand one thing clear, that Lagos State does not intend to take over the functions of the federal government. These operatives should be run by the federal government. But don't forget, I'm sure the Lagos-Ibadan axis will never be Lagos axis. It must be maybe the Oyo State axis. Because in Lagos State, the perimeter around Lagos State is well secured. And we also even extend to our sister states. We believe that there should be a handshake between these states so that they can work harmoniously. And that's why at some point they created the Amotekun just in a bid to keep the Southwest safe, but they must do more. But I can tell you that it is all these things you hear around the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is not in the axis or the perimeter or the borders of Lagos State. It must be in other parts of the country and not Lagos State. Lagos State's territory and its precincts are very, very well secured, particularly and including the waterways, which is, as you know, Lagos State is a littoral state surrounded by water. We have the marine police there. When we got into office, we barely had 5 gunboats on our waterways. As we speak today, the Lagos State Security Trust Fund has injected over 42 gunboats with about 600 cc engines. There is no state of the Federation that can boast of that. So it tells you that we are doing a lot. Are we there yet? No, it's still work in progress, because a city like Lagos, you will continue to get the influx of people as long as we continue to prosper and they feel that this is the destination that can bring prosperity to them.
So let's talk, we'll come back to the funding, but let's talk about the areas that you believe that need improvement, because you say, yes, you're making progress, but there's still room for improvement. So what are those areas that you think require improvement?
First of all, we must understand that the operatives are human beings like you and I. They need to be well funded, they need to be well trained, they need to be well remunerated. They need to have all the wherewithal to combat crime. Nobody can go outside to combat crime bare-chested. They must have vests, they must have protective gears, and they must be motivated. In Lagos State, I also make bold to say that whenever, if anybody dies in the course of action or slain in the course of their duty, we pay compensation of at least 10 million to the family. No, it's never done in this country. So there's a lot to be done. We need more equipment. We need technology. The world has gone smart now. We don't totally need boots on ground for you to survey and secure a city. There are equipments that you can sit in a control room and look at the entire city. It is capital intensive. These things are not cheap. because you know that those things are all imported. There's nothing we actually produce in Nigeria. So this is, like I said, it is an evolving thing. It is something that we must all get on board. And like I said, we are a donor-funded organization. Lagos State is carrying a lot of load on its shoulders, because it is a destination that people feel that if you have not been to Lagos, or if you don't get to Lagos, a lot of people think they haven't gotten to their destination. So we have a lot to carry. And so for a state government to also to be shouldering this responsibility of security, we know the amount of resources. And it's not only what you see. So for instance, vehicles will never move without fuel. Fuel, they may look intangible to most of us, but it costs billions at the end of the year to fuel our fleet and also make our assets work, to repair them, to replace them. These are huge resources that are required. So we need more support.
I will come back and then we'll talk about that support in a moment. Let's go to Catch now. Catch, you've been listening to my conversation with Abdulrazak on Lagos specifically. Now, if you have a comment to pass, of course, you can pass that comment. But while you do that, I just want us to talk also about the recent order from the president to tame, to the military, to tame terrorist activities going into the elections. There are those who say that this is more reactionary than a proactive measure. As an analyst, what are your thoughts into this call by the president?
I agree with those who say these are just reactive rhetorics. The president is not sincere. It is due to his instructions that the army have stayed hands. Second, Lagos State has refused to join the other states to form Amotekun because they want to pander to the senses of those who are responsible for the security crisis in the country. How can Lagos State be taken seriously when it's not signed on to Amotekun? How can you work in sync with the states around you when you're not a member of the regional security network? Because of politics and the need not to offend those who are responsible for this security, Lagos State does not want to join Amotekun. That's one. Secondly, the main reasons why we have crisis in the country for security is President Buhari's reasons and his instructions to the army to stay hands. Why? These Bororo terrorists are known. We know where they stay. Drones have detected them. Governor El-Rufai said where they stay is known. I know where they stay in Dogongona. I know where they stay in Giwa. I know where they stay in Tegina, in Kagara. They wanted to storm Abuja because the federal government did not act to stop it. And that was why you saw the international community bring in special forces to evacuate non-essential forces. If what the international community has said was not true, Nigerian government will have called the ambassadors and reprimanded them. No, what happened? Buhari traveled to London to reprimand them for trying to truncate the democracy. Now, Lagos State is not serious. Spending money and not doing the real important thing, like working in sync with the states of the Southwest in strengthening Amotekun, simply means the money Lagos State spends will come to nothing. Look at it. It took Lagos to now applaud the bikes because they got information that the bikes are the main security logistics that these terrorists use to overrun towns.
Right. So help us understand why is it important that Lagos joins forces with the other states that you have mentioned?
Because if you're applauding those bikes, the same bikes are being caught on the bordering states. What about stopping the bikes from coming into Lagos State? If Lagos was cooperating with other states in Amotekun, those states would be able to stop Lagos-bound logistics that are used by these terrorists. Not when the logistics get into Lagos, Lagos will start exploring the use of those logistics in 6 or 9 local governments. The right thing is join the security network so that you will gain information from Amotekun people if they cite logistics for terrorism being brought into Lagos State from Ogun State, from Ondo State, from any of the states that border Lagos. But say you will not join Amotekun because you do not want to offend those who we know are the ones strengthening the hands of the terrorists.
Let me get a quick reaction. Let me get a quick reaction from Abdulrazak. And Abdulrazak, I hope that this falls in your jurisdiction, but he's made mention of, I think it's in reference to your response on the Lagos-Ibadan issue. He thinks that Lagos should be joining the network of states that are tackling terrorism in their states or in their communities. What will be your reaction to that?
Of course, Lagos State is part of the Dawn Commission, and Lagos State was part of, if my memory serves me correctly, Lagos State is also part of that network. And the only reason why we may not be calling ours Amotekun is because we established the Lagos State Neighborhood Safety Corps, which is one of the best, I mean, you see them all around the city. They have a handshake with Amotekun. The only reason why we don't call ours Amotekun today is because we also have an established force in Lagos, and we'll just be duplicating efforts. But that's not to say that they are not, working together. The truth of the matter is that, everybody keeps on talking about a state, a state, a state. The state governments of various states of the Federation do not have the total wherewithal and control to control our security forces. And like I mentioned today in one of the interviews I did, that security is meant to be a handshake of all the operators. So in other words, there's nobody superior to the other. Everybody is working in tandem with a common purpose. So if you look at these areas we are talking about, there's a limit to what a state government can do than to continue to support them. And this is what I believe almost all state governments do in Nigeria. So when people trade blames and say this and that, I guess people are entitled to their opinion. But as far as we are concerned, we know that Lagos is a very, very proactive state. And we know that we are also in collaboration with our sister states. But to the extent of the fact that you have one or two incidences since this thing started some 10 or more years back, it tells you that it is still work in progress, because nowhere in the world do you have a crime-free environment. But now that it has happened, I'm sure all hands are on deck. I'm privy to the fact that I know the steps that Lagos State government is taking. We're always forward-looking. I continue to say it with all sense of responsibility. And I can only say that
gentlemen, I'm going to take a break here, and then we will come back to this conversation and look at our city going into the holidays and the elections. You're watching Village Square Africa. We'll be right back with more. Stay with us.
News Central TV, Africa's #1 storyteller, has come with the best of both worlds. With a combination of news app and live TV, we ensure that you keep track of the latest headlines, breaking news, and in-depth analysis from professional journalists from around the continent. Download the News Central TV app on Android and iOS and get started today. Don't forget to follow us on News Central's social media platforms. News Central, Africa First.
Welcome back to the Square. Today our focus is on security in Lagos and Nigeria as a whole. And I still have with me Abdulrazak Balogun and Catch or Nuju. And we've been talking about things around Lagos. But let's get back to the conversation. And Abdulrazak, I'll come to you. I mean, despite all that you say about the progress that security apparatus in Lagos are making as far as the safety of its citizens are concerned, there are still people who are still afraid to travel certain times of the day, particularly on the 3rd Mainland Bridge and many other places in the city. What is the plan going into the holidays, and even if we stretch it to the elections?
I can only speak as a civilian and somebody who heads an agency like mine. The main operations and the plan would be to the Nigerian police or the Commissioner of Police. But I know that, because I know for a fact that the meetings we hold with these agencies or these agents, like I said, they're always very forward-looking. The Third Mainland Bridge and those things, those traffic robberies we hear about, I'm sure you know that it is at its minimum right now. We only say that citizens must, first of all, have a high level of suspicion. Citizens must ensure that they don't keep things all around their vehicles in the traffic. They must also ensure, particularly, to stop buying things on the highway. But a lot of people come with that guise of selling, and you roll down and they attack you. That's not to say that these acts are acceptable, but these are the challenges of a highly populous mega city like Lagos. And I can tell you, going into the elections, we have been brainstorming. There's been a lot of committees put in place. There are a lot of consultations going on to forestall any uprising or any issues that may arise before, during, and after the elections. I make bold to say that Lagos is always on top of its game. And so I can assure residents that no stone will be left unturned. The governor of the state, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, heads and chairs the Security Council. This is a position he has never delegated. And we hold meetings regularly to plan and to ensure that we carry out those things that we agree in council to do for the safety
I want to ask, I mean, you're a stakeholder, yes, a really important stakeholder when it comes to the security of Lagos. You keep telling me that things are not like before. Crime has reduced. Security is way better than before. Is
yes.
there any data to back this?
Yes. Of course, if you join us at our town hall meeting on Thursday, that's 2 days' time, you're going to see this data reeled out to all Lagosians. We have the data, and there are empirical facts and proof to show that this crime has greatly reduced. I've not said that you can eliminate crime in a city like Lagos. That's not going to happen, but it has reduced drastically, and we have the data from armed robbery to kidnapping to carjacking. All this data are there, and they will be enumerated and shown to Lagosians on Thursday at our town hall meeting in Victoria Island with the governor of the state.
Very well. I'll come back to you on a bit more about the fund's activities. But Catch, we're going into the elections. Obviously, security will be thinned out across the country. What are some of the lessons that you'd expect that security operatives may have learned from previous events that they would apply this time?
As a Lagosian, I will tell you the biggest problem we have in elections is the crisis we've had along the Ilasamaja, Sele, Oshodi, Gaidia, or Kota Palace Way access. And that has been as a consequence of the use of thugs by the APC. We have seen that severely rise in Lagos. I saw that myself, which actually after the election of Tony Mulu and Governor Tinubu now raised them to Olomo along the Oshodi airport axis, going from Guardian to Sele to Ilasa up to Apapa. We have crisis there. If we can stop those violence against voters, Lagos could be a better place during election. But it seems that all this violence is perpetuated by supporters of the APC. So we believe it would be better to remove Agbero from Lagos so that in the places like Ojota, like Festac, like Apapa, like Sele, like Oshod, like Guardian, like Ilasama.
So hear me, Catch.
So
hear me, Catch.
To be able to vote peacefully in those places, even including Alakbere.
Hear me, Catch. You have made a lot of reference to the APC. Why do you draw the connection between what happens amongst, you know, the miscreants and those who, as you have just said, attack voters. Why are you connecting it to the party?
Because these are known supporters of Governor Tinubu. I will make bold to speak about it because these are facts that we are living with. If we can get him to remove his use of algorithms and thoughts, Nigerians can vote peacefully in Lagos.
So here's the problem.
It is a problem, and I must press about it. I am a Lagosian, and I know these things are problems. I want us to put our eyes on Okota Palace Way, on Sele, on Ilasamaja. All that access stretching down to Apapa, down to Wharf, down to Oshodi, going down to Guardian.
Well,
I believe if we can stop violence there, Lagosians can vote during the election without fear of voting what they have in their mind. This is very, very important. I'm raising this now because I spoke about this on a different program on Channels Television. Because we also saw violence in Osun State. We saw the same violence in Kaduna State. We saw the same in Borno State. And all this have been perpetrated by members of the APC against other parties. So we must stop this violence.
Right. So what I wanted to say is the APC isn't here to react to some of the allegations that you're making. So I'd want us to focus on the issue if we can do that. But we have a few minutes to go. I'll come to you, Abdulrazak. I know that from 2015, based on audit report, the fund ran a deficit in 2021 and 2020. What happened?
Well, if you're looking at the country...
No, that's to Abdulrazak. I will come back to you, Catch. That's to Abdulrazak.
I
was talking about the fund running into deficit 2020 and 2021. I'm asking what happened. The trust fund. Abdulrazak, can you hear me? So I'll try again. I'm asking about the trust fund that appears to, based on this audit report, run into a deficit for year 2020 and 2021. I'm asking if there is any explanation or reason for that. Well, I think Abdulrazak is frozen, so I just have a minute. I'll wrap up with the show with Catch here. Catch, the elections are going to happen. The holidays are just around the corner. I know you have spoken about the APC and dealing with the APC, but let's put the party aside. They're not here to respond. And let's talk about the issue itself. What would be your advice as a security analyst to our security operatives on keeping everyone safe, not only in Lagos, but across the country?
The most important thing, President Buhari should see himself as president of Nigeria. The crisis that occurred in Abuja, which forced the international community to put up the security alert, was as a consequence of the CPC elements in the government trying to allow violence to cause a sort of emergency in which the army would take over and the democracy will be truncated. And that was why the Americans, the Australians, the Indians, the British, the Canadians, and even the Bulgarians gave their laws. And when Nigeria was still arguing, they were led into somewhere at Trademore Estate in the Sabonlugbe area of Abuja on the way to the airport, and that's where those people were apprehended.
Very well.
Nigeria didn't complain, because for Nigeria to complain, they would have invited all the embassies that raised the alert and reprimanded them. No, they didn't complain, because the international community were able to show the government that there was real truth about the attempt to truncate the democracy. And that's why Buhari, instead of reprimanded them, went to London to be reprimanded.
Indeed.
Now, I am saying
hold your horses
that
for
we
me.
are all watching. Nigerians do not want any truncation of our democracy.
Indeed. Indeed, that is an absolutely instructive point you just made. But I just got Abdulrazak back, and I think we should finish the conversation with you, Abdulrazak. Earlier, I was asking about the funding deficit you experienced in 2020 and 2021. If you could just throw some light on it, and also share with people how they can support the trust fund.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the deficit, what you call deficit, again, are the gaps you find when you have a model that is strictly donor funded. So we have to always continue to reach out to our donors and to support, which is at their discretion to do so. The Lagos State government has continued to pursue this model so that we let everybody get on board to support this laudable initiative that we are doing in Lagos State. This is the first of its kind. Other states that have copied us have failed. And so it means that we're doing something well. And so in future, we always appeal that this is an agency that is very transparent, that is prudent. We render our accounts and our books transparently. And so every year, we also render our stewardship, which we'll do again on Thursday.
I'm afraid we'll have to end our conversation here, Abdulrazak. I know there's a bit more to discuss regarding funding of the trust, but we'll leave it here for now. But be sure that I appreciate your time with us here today. Abdulrazak, thank you very much. Catch, thank you very much for your analysis on the security situation. It's been a very insightful conversation with both of you. And thank you too at home or wherever you're watching us from around the world. This has been Village Square Africa. My name is Kemini Amana. I'll see you same time tomorrow here on News Central TV. Goodbye.